Yo, let's get it in right now. Smackdown had literally the best episode I've seen in months, probably in years. To the legitimacy of that promo over just astounding character work over Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns, and the foreshadowing of Heyman even having appealing interest and relation to Roman Reigns because they were both not supported and completely casted out for just no support by most of the fans and most of the wrestlers, and actually going up to the tribal heritage, actually bringing some respect to that, and then calling him the big dog in the dominance. This is his yard. Calling it its island is like I thought it was a bit generic, but it's like it makes sense, and it kind of brings up to his heel days when he was early NXT. Uh, I love the freaking promo over most of what I saw this year. Paul Heyman just knew I got fired. I don't give a shit anymore. I'm gonna I'm gonna call. I'm gonna call like Corey Graves like another number of boyfriends. Call Michael Cole ugly. The main event scene on SmackDown a freaking joke. It just it was burial and it made Roman Reigns seem more legitimate. Just feel like those men are just monsters. Those are not champions. Those are men that you don't want representing your company. There's a man working like tooth and limb, and it just made Roman Reigns look like a badass. Roman looked like a badass. He spoke like a badass, and it just implemented it more over the main event scene. If this isn't like your ticket to actually noticing that Roman Reigns is like your premier reason to watch WWE, let alone SmackDown, even though I still think in general they should unify the belts, just make it non-brand split again, because back in 2016 it was a retarded idea. I never believed that it would work. It still does not work, and I will stand by that to this day. This was a great opening segment. I love the promo. Adam Pearce should be fired. He didn't sign the contract until literally before he could even enter the match at Payback. He literally signed it at the entrance away. So why is Adam Pearce still on television? I thought he was supposedly supposed to get fired. We had Otis against. We had a Fatal 4-Way announced earlier off Paul Heyman's behalf over who will be facing off for the Universal Championship to somewhat one up Monday Night Raw for supposedly Biggie, Matt Riddle, Baron Corbin, and of course Sheamus. Even though he still comes around looking like what probably a terrible gimmick they would give Finley in probably years, with him dressing like a hobo brawler in Ireland. Bullshit, and people say that Irish people did not get more discriminated upon than black people in the U.S. If this isn't a big example, I don't know why. So this was teased as the major main event to see who's going to face off against uh Roman at Clash of Champions. Not Clash of the Champions. Not Clash of the Champions, Paul. You said it 3 times over your promo. I understand you've been here for a long time in the wrestling business and you work for WCW, so obviously that caught your tongue a bit more. But Jesus, Paul, they had this pay-per-view since 2016. I thought you would understand by now what it's called. Even though they're crappy, uninspired pay-per-views, they still have the correct naming for it. Next up, we had Heavy Machinery against Morrison and Miz, and they just got jobbed. Couple drop kicks. Otis no-selling Miz's dumb pussy kicks that obviously, like, literally just desolated, like, no sort of effect. Some double power slams that ended up with the Caterpillar, and of course Jack Swagger's old signature move because Otis is fat. And just Morrison just comes out of nowhere taking the money in the bank briefcase for like no particular freaking reason. And the logic that goes into this is completely amazing. No, not really. I thought it was dumb and it felt jobbery. It felt like what they did with the IC title back in 2015 when it was just anybody can steal it. Sorry for that. this is probably gonna probably go. I don't want to keep saying probably, but this is maybe gonna go into a future match with the Money in the Bank briefcase on the line. I'm not saying that you should always make your show focus on the Money in the Bank briefcase holder, but he's supposed to be the biggest wild card to cash in at any moment. And over the entire Fiend and Strowman feud, Otis has been irrelevant. His character doesn't seem that sketchy unless a live crowd is on behind his back, and it hasn't been like that over the pandemic. Even if it is, Otis is a jobber freaking character. He's a fat dude that gets behind, gets the girl, but he's never going to be over for chasing the world title unless he at least gained a bit more muscle. So probably they'll do something involving John Morrison or The Miz fighting over who's going to beat Otis to get the Money in the Bank briefcase. In my opinion, it should have been more. It should have been at least Morrison the entire time. He should have been the Money in the Bank briefcase. But I know he was in a tag title match at Money in the Bank. So yeah, you just. Oh, by the way, Otis just beat the WWE champion clean. I mean, obviously, Miz has lost a lot, and people just complain, why is he in the top seat? Because he's a joke. Because he's a joke. In my opinion, he's just a joke. He comes around saying that he's legitimate. He's put prestige into the Intercontinental Championship, and he haven't even gotten beyond main event status unless it's AJ Styles holding the WWE title, unless and how irrelevant you people still want to try to reference that the peak of your career is not holding the WWE title, at least having a main event feud. You main evented No Mercy. Congrats. After that, we of course had a backstage segment involving Jey Uso and Roman Reigns over why in the world are you even affiliating with Paul Heyman over the stuff he went with Brock, and of course he always got his back. There was another segment involving him when Big E was taken out by Sheamus for obviously number crunching for the Fatal 4-Way, and plus they're still feuding. So as soon as some random guy awkwardly come out of nowhere, like you really got to sign better actors in this WWE. I mean, you already disillude freaking your own employees getting that side money out there if they're not getting their name out there in the WWE, or they just need that extra bread, or they want to do something outside the lengths of wrestling. And I understand for some people that's insulting to the business, but for some people, they're doing this for a weekly grind. And in my opinion, I don't think a lot of people always want to focus on wrestling 24/7, especially on the shit that they have right now. It's better off that they stick with Twitch and all this crap, other than you restricting it and you owning the real freaking names. The independent contractors word obviously is not in vocabulary when you sign this contract. Because this is not a contract affiliating that you work for WWE, it's that we own you. If that didn't even scream over why it took so much time for Ryback to even get his name, or why Cody is still named Cody, even though that's his. I don't want to go into that. We had this. I didn't want to go into that much of a small rant, but that's just to tell you how much of WWE is just really bullshitting on the independent contractors vocation. They always want to force like these are independent businesses. They can work anywhere else except Ring of Honor, New Japan, any other independent local shows that they would like to do, or work in a specific time, always in WWE time. Can't make their money off outside things like YouTube or Twitch or anything else we can assign unless it's WWE movies that you can always call Miz because they're always on DVD or Netflix. Next up, we have the women's tag team title match. And it's like, this was the best tag team match I've ever seen. What? It was just Shayna Baszler 75% of the time, while Nia Jax was just huffing and puffing every time there was nearly a hot tag. Like, the consistency build was just that it's good enough that Bayley turned against Sasha, because this was practically what we were waiting on since freaking, like, February of this year, when there was, like, no pandemic, and, and this was literally teased after her like 6-pack challenge she had for the SmackDown Women's title. That Sasha was literally a sacrificial lamb. So that should probably tease you. Hey Bayley, you shouldn't be trusting. Let's have a match at WrestleMania. Not WrestleMania, but at least on a future pay per view. It took her now to realize after like their like over 100 days as tag team champion, and Bayley still holding onto the belt for like 300 days. And this was somewhat foreshadowed over the terrible interviews, but at least it finally got it done here. If you guys want to learn about the crappy match, it was just some bicycle knees. Nearly the exact same thing except better selling of the leg. Thanks Shayna. There's only one semblance of stuff that I give her. From opposite to her looks, she can make stuff look excruciatingly painful, especially when it comes to stomping on the leg of Sasha. Both headbanging both Bayley and Sasha for the barricade. Some of it looks super abusive. It ends off a crossbody targeting both Bayley and Sasha for the pin. Nia finally helps pick up the win for her and Shayna. Hopefully this becomes a short reign. Like give it to probably just I don't know. I guess Liv and Ruby because they just made a tag team literally break up out of the Iconics. I mean, hopefully Peyton Royce has a successful singles run. Currently, there's like so many jobbers in the female division. We also had some chick in Smoke, and I want to wish it's Scarlett. I want to let her reenact the Smoke show. I'm begging. Because there got to be some semblance of any source of a valet in the WWE. We can't just have just wrestlers. You need valets. You need personality. You need different semblances of any character. You can't just have them just be wrestlers because the only valet or manager we can speak of is just Paul Heyman and Zelina Vega from Raw. No one's gonna come to freaking Singh Brothers or the moral support jobbers. But other than that, decent turn. A bit lackluster though because it's been months in the making. Really cool setting up and crushing the throats of probably she'll probably no sell this for next week or probably 2 weeks before Clash of Champions for them to have their title match at Clash of Champions or something. Or how they can sell it up for Survivor Series for some semblance of drama. That would be cool, like a month hiatus until Sasha Banks comes back, and that would be some cool character growth. But thanks, there's really nobody to feud with in the SmackDown roster. That it would be fine. The real Intercontinental Champion, Sami Zayn, come out over why he was not called the Intercontinental Champion in the entranceway. And Jeff Hardy came out to see if he was the real Intercontinental Champion. And oh my god. Okay, so it revolves around currently AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, and Sami Zayn. Even though this makes zero sense. He was not taken out because of injury. There was a plethora of times they vacate the belt because you were gone over 30 days. That's a rule if you don't defend the Intercontinental Championship. So somebody that's supposed to be narcissistic, completely sarcastic and intelligent like Sami Zayn, he forget that there's a 30-day rule when you hold the Intercontinental Championship. The guy couldn't even hold it before. I think he lost it came after he like beat Bryan for the IC belt back at Mania. He hasn't defended it for over a month, so they vacated it. Then they put it over to a tournament that Styles won. So that's dumb enough as the storyline even made it out to be, other than to just get it, Sami Zayn still relevant, looking like a local NXT fan that also planned to kidnap Shayna Baszler. Sorry to make that joke, but he does look like he's the next guy to like kidnap probably Dana Brooke, even though Dana Brooke looks like a freaking guppy. And of course, it came up with a surprise assault of AJ Styles. He comes around after Sami tried to join in on the assault. The Styles then aims for Sami Zayn. We had a brawl until it hit A twist of fate on AJ Styles, then a haluva kick off Sami Zayn, making Sami Zayn at least look somewhat strong. I don't care that Sami Zayn is back. He's like the least of my concerns. No one's been asking for Sami Zayn back. There's no growth, no viewership spike when Sami Zayn returns. When Roman Reigns returned, there was a viewership spike. There is interest, and there's at least some plethora of a main event presence on SmackDown now. Over two big fat dudes targeting for a toy belt. So now Sami Zayn's back with his hair longer and more relevant, looking like a casual. There's nothing really good about this. I think Xavier Woods also came back like during Talking Smack, so that wasn't just an ambush by Sheamus. Sheamus even coming around just looking like he's gonna tell you a freaking folk tale or something with having a freaking Mjolnir or something. Okay, that was a joke. That was incredibly insensitive, but you know what I'm talking about. Over the entire thing, he now masks his identity over that bar fight he had with Jeff Hardy, and just thought this look cool. That's about it. And then he comes around still wearing his regular wrestling gear, spiked hair, black and green tights, still wearing the regular stuff. I mean, it's better off that he looks like that he looks like a wrestler, but he looks like he belongs in CCW or fist fighting with Wade Barrett than this shit. This looks dumb. Please change your look. At least try to wear your merchandise. Like wear a T-shirt with the spiked hair. At least wear a T-shirt with the hat. So Jey Uso was a replacement for uh, Big E after he got assaulted and wasted that perfectly good birthday cake. Matt Riddle, and of course, local jobber that should never got a title shot. It's King Corbin. Plus Bray Wyatt got a new friend for the Funhouse. So it's probably just Alexa. Alexa comes around looking like an e-girl slash that chick that probably you got rejected by in a hot topic, not coming from experience. Just witnessed it. Some poor guy. And yeah, this was our main event. Upper level mid carders feuding for the world championship. I mean, it's better off that they personalize this feud over, the relationship, and the Usos have literally helped Roman Reigns win his first WWE championship, and how they've always been supportive and over this heel dynamic now coming into play with Paul Heyman. Now in his mention, I understand why they would do it. Just understand this isn't that completely compelling because the Usos are just fake black young bucks with both of them looking like Tungaloa. If you don't know who that is, just know I waste too much time looking at everything else wrestling because sometimes WWE just makes me agitated. And this the match was okay. Counters from running splashes over to an Irish curse in the deep six. Corbin still tries to do that dumb crap with running to the apron. Oh, but I'll get through his blind side and clothesline him. A super kick came out of nowhere off Riddle. Corbin come around chucking Jey Uso on like the second row of where those KKK pictures from the Thunderdome are coming from, and it came up with everybody hitting nearly their entire finisher. The match was a fine fatal four-way, not anything to remember. With Jey Uso just doing just his dumb super kicks, except without Jimmy, and it just felt so repulsive. It just felt so indie to me. And it ended up with everybody doing their moves, bro to sleep, a bro kick out of nowhere, then a splash after Sheamus thought he had it. I mean, and that was the match. Jey Uso goes around. No retribution attack, no Roman Reigns attack. Just a big feel good moment because this is Jey Uso's first World Championship opportunity. And I had to say, less matches, good show. Because too much is not enough. I'm not singing the rest of the song because probably they'll copyright me on that. Luckily, I got a warning last time I did some dumb crap like that. and I didn't even abide any guidelines. Seriously, what's wrong with you guys? If I even reference a lyric, are you assholes are just gonna... I'm not gonna go that far, but that's SmackDown. I can at least give some positive over the most recent episodes of SmackDown. A lot of changes. Jey Uso is now a major favorite. I mean, it's better off they don't overshove Big E, because of course he's been consistently shoveled over our face in his singles run, even though he's not that much established or have as much as an identity without still being New Day Big E. So it's better off they do that. The women's division is still trash. I'm not a bigger fan of the Intercontinental title feud with I'm the real champion. I'm the real champion. If you bring more thought into it, then you think, why in the fuck is Sami Zayn holding the Intercontinental title in the first place? Uh, I'm more anticipated in the Bayley and Sasha Banks feud, even though I feel like this was a bit overdone by now. But it's good. The heavy machinery thing with Miz and Morrison and Mystic, and Morrison took the briefcase. That means he's gonna get the contract. But oh, he took it. He took the lunchbox because Otis is fat and he's quirky. You're a jobber. You shouldn't have held that thing in the first place. I wanted him to at least have at least one reign with the IC title, and it could have been cool. Even though teams like that sort of get over by that one shorter guy, like Enzo and Kaz, they should have had like at least two reigns with that tag belts. But somehow getting over tag teams in the WWE is as depressing as making Eugene World Heavyweight Champion. But that's besides the point. SmackDown was unexpectedly decent to watch, and over that, I would just give you like a freaking just a suggestion to just watch back the Paul Heyman promo and him just literally bashing a majority of what's bad on SmackDown. So that was a really average show. I'll give it like probably a 5. A nicer part of me want to give it a 6, and that's really shocking for me if you don't think so. But that's the show. I give it like a Dynamite rating. And Dynamite's been doing pretty mediocre, especially to build up for All Out this afternoon. So hopefully you guys like the review. Thanks for watching. Uh, Hope you guys like SmackDown. That's it coming from me.